Dan, never a dull day in the Boston sports scene, but obviously the news coming down yesterday with Jerod Mayo being fired after the Patriots win the finale. How surprised were you that the Patriots fired Jerod Mayo after one season?
I was surprised at the timing, Joe. I mean, right after the game, right after our post-game show, right after fifth quarter ended, boom, here comes the release. But then again, I wasn't. With the way things unfolded in the final month, there are all kinds of signs when you look back on it that it just wasn't seemingly working out here in Foxboro for Jerod Mayo. Now, you know, it's tough to give a guy 1 year on the job and say, here's the keys last January 17th, go do what you got to do, and then kind of not give him the players to go out and do it and to put together a staff quickly and everything else. So I feel for Jerod Mayo. You know, it's kind of like a no-win situation for him in a lot of ways, and develop and groom a quarterback, but don't play him too soon. So there were lots of factors that went into it, but in the last month, it just didn't seem to go right here, step by step. And I think it all added up to, at one point, just the Krafts decided to say, you know what, this isn't working out. You know, do we want to bring you back for next year? What will that do? What will it look like? All those kind of decisions. And I think at the end, they just figured it was best to move on, which could have been easy for Robert Kraft, who handpicked Jerod Mayo, you know, going back 5 years ago on a trip to Israel, everything else. So it couldn't have been an easy decision.
Yeah, and let's kind of expound upon that, right? Because Jerod Mayo was handpicked by Robert Kraft to succeed Bill Belichick after the great run that Bill Belichick had here. And you figured with this roster and the fact that from a talent standpoint, it was at the bottom in the NFL in terms of talent. When do you think it started to go south for Jerod Mayo and his job with this team?
I think everyone knew it was going to be a tough year. We all acknowledged that. I think there was some hope in the beginning of the year, especially after the win after Cincinnati, that like, okay, this is the game plan. This is the team we're going to see. Here you go. They're going to be a tough, physical, run the football team. It's exactly what Jerod Mayo preached and exactly what happened. And then it went south after that. I think they had a couple of 6-game losing streaks mixed in. To me, it went south after the bye. They had one of the latest byes in the NFL, one of those teams that, you know, they had it in December. So they came out of the chute, and there's a lot of hope in Arizona. Being around the team that day, that week, that weekend, they were feeling good going into the Arizona game. Okay, we got a chance to reset. Now we've got our quarterback. If we could just finish out this season strong, things will go okay, and we'll be good to go for 2025. And they laid an egg, you know, and it was a 30-17 final, but it was 23-3. At one point it was over, and the Patriots scored 2 touchdowns, I think, in the fourth quarter, and it was like a thumping. And then you saw on CBS the shot of Robert and Jonathan Kraft, and Jonathan kind of the lip readers out there said kind of ripping the offense and the offensive coordinator. So that was the beginning of the end to me. They redeemed themselves a bit with that win in that battle in Buffalo where they lost by 3. But then you're like, looking back on it, where the Bills just coming off an emotional game, and then they kind of laid an egg emotionally and were drained. More so the case. And then the 40-7 defeat here against the Chargers was bad. That was like really bad. That's where the Fire Mayo chant started. That's where the booing started. And that's when it really got, you know, cemented that there was a chance here now that Jerod may not come back. We thought maybe it would just be a shakeup of the entire coaching staff, not Mayo. But the Patriots made that decision as it went, and it seemingly got worse. Last week was a bad week here, Joe. It was just, you know, questioning the fans and the players, and you know, Jelani Tavai saying what he said and then not really going back on it. It was just a bad week here, and it culminated with that loss that put them in the win, rather. That was a loss that put them in the 4th spot as opposed to the top pick in the draft.
So, Dan, I think a lot of fans understand why the team has moved on from Jerod Mayo after all of which you just talked about. I do think the lingering question is now with the draft, because the Patriots will have the 4th pick coming up in the NFL draft, but they had a chance at the number 1 pick had they lost that last game against the Bills yesterday. And I think a lot of fans have the question now of why let Jerod Mayo coach that last game knowing that the number 1 pick was on the line?
Yeah, there's all kinds of factors that maybe go into that, right? It's just, to me, it's one of those situations where if you know what you're going to do, and it looked like that press release that they issued, that statement was made up during the week. You know, it wasn't just a haphazard here, quick, put out a statement, press release that he's gone. So they seemingly made their mind up before yesterday. And then to let him go out there, you know, maybe it was just a show of faith. You know, like, listen, we gave you this position. You know, we handpicked you for this spot. We have a lot of faith in you, and it just didn't work out. Maybe figuring that it would be one of those situations where they would go out and play hard but lose the game. And and then do you really want to put DeMarcus Covington in a spot where he's going to be the interim coach, and then the players maybe play harder for him, and then is it Alex Van Pelt? And it's like it's one of those weird situations. So yeah, I mean, looking back on it, it's easy to say you probably shouldn't have let him coach that game, but at the same time, I don't know if a solution would have made the players play even harder. Because let's face it, at the end of the day, you can't tell the players to stop playing or not play hard. Now, might have you put Jacoby Brissett in earlier in that one? That's probably the only thing you could have done to maybe lose the game, because no question the Bills did not mind losing the game either by putting Mike White in, especially. They just really, activated and said, here, go play. It was just, again, part of that strangeness. And looking back on it now, maybe you wish you hadn't coached that game.
Yeah, a weird day in Foxboro yesterday for sure. And just a weird year overall for this organization. Dan, where does the team go from here now after having fired Jerod Mayo?
Yeah, I'm curious to see how this one unfolds here, Joe, because will they go out and immediately see the guy that's right in front of you? Which they had handpicked Jerod Mayo and didn't really do any other interviews beyond that. There's the Rooney Rule of the NFL where you have to interview minority candidates and what have you. So, will they open up a big net and interview a bunch of different people? Like Ben Johnson is the hot name for the Detroit Lions, the offensive coordinator who you would match up with Drake May, and other former Patriots. Brian Flores is another name, the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. Who you could go get him. And then there's some younger up-and-coming names, Liam Cohen and things like that people could keep an eye on. But the one staring you right in the face is Mike Vrabel, right? And again, this is a guy that's in your Patriots Hall of Fame. This is a guy that loves the Patriots. This is a guy that won 3 Super Bowls with you. When he was here as coach at Tennessee during the bye week, we got into the Patriots Hall of Fame and professed his love for the Patriots and the organization, sat with Robert and Jonathan Kraft in the owner's box. So he's your conquering hero, has coaching experience, running an organization with Tennessee, was there for 6 seasons. They made the AFC Championship. He's won. Knows exactly what he wants to do, could possibly bring in his own general manager to help him pick personnel. He's the guy staring in your face who interviewed with the Jets on Friday. So now the possibility does you just immediately hire him and say, go, here you go, or the Krafts leery of that after the way things didn't work out with Jerod Mayo. I think it's an interesting dilemma. And again, I go with common sense. Common sense tells you everything. You need a head coach, you need a quarterback to win in the NFL and be successful and to win a championship. Mike Vrabel is certainly a good candidate for that because he's got the past coaching experience, because he knows this system, he knows the Patriots, he knows the fan base, and he would walk into this building with instant respect. So it's hard for me to say don't go to him, right? Even though there's other candidates out there right now, the fix for this team after trying to replace a legend, which is never easy. That first guy out of the chute, it's always tough. He looks like the perfect candidate, but we'll see as we go here. But I wouldn't be surprised right now, and I think he's the favorite right now, and Mike Vrabel coming in here to take over the organization.
Yeah, a lot of unanswered questions with this organization right now, Dan, and let's kind of end on it here. Robert Kraft is speaking at 1 p.m. today. You'll be at the press conference. What are you most interested in hearing from him today?
I just think he's going to be very complimentary of Jerod, and I think he's going to hear him say how much it's hurt him to have to do this. And I think, I think he's going to sit there and say, I heard the fans. And I think it was really tough for him these last 2 home games to see half full stadiums. It's a business, right? And to see the lack of enthusiasm, to see fans booing after they score. I think, he'll go back to his days of sitting there as a fan at the old Foxboro Stadium. He talks about that all the time, what it meant to him. So I think I'm curious to see how much it hurt him this past couple of weeks and this past month, and now to try to go forward with this organization.